Right, hello everybody, thanks for joining us for this talk. My name's Martin Percival and I'd like to introduce
Alistair McEwan, son of Billy.
Yeah, and Billy McEwan played for Rangers from about 1938 to 1950. Obviously a period that was interrupted by the war. We will be talking about Alistair's dad's war service as well. But let's start off by talking about his early playing career in Glasgow.
Right, well, my dad was born in an area of Glasgow, East End, called the Garangad. Now, it was mainly first and second generation Irish immigrants, Catholics, and my dad was a Protestant. So it was a bit of
He was the odd man out.
He was the odd man out. Now, it had a very bad reputation because when people talk about Glasgow slum areas and stuff, it's the Gorbals. Well, the Gorbals was called the Gorbals when my dad was born, and it's still called the Gorbals.
Yeah.
Whereas the Garangad is now called Royston.
Right. Sounds a lot better.
In 1942, Glasgow City Council decided they had to do something about the reputation of this place. So overnight, the name was changed. So Garangad Hill became Royston Hill, Garangad Road became Royston Road, and the square, Garangad Square, that was Royston Square. But it's still referred to by the locals as the
Garangad, yes.
The local team was called St Roch's, and they played in green and white, with stripes, not hoops, because they had the Celtic connection.
Yeah.
And the local hero at the time in the Garangad was a guy called Jimmy McGrory. Now, Jimmy McGrory played for St Roch's. He was a little bit older than my dad, but he moved on to Celtic and became the top goal scorer in top flight football in the UK. I've got some numbers here. So he scored something like, in 501 appearances for Celtic, he scored 522 goals. So his average was more than one a game.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So also in the Garangad was a gang. And when my dad told me the name of this gang, I just had to chuckle about it because the gang was called the Cheeky 40. So I said to him, what, they just used to be a bit cheeky to people? And he said, well, no, they were hardened criminals.
Yeah.
And there were more than 40 of them.
Right.
So whilst playing for St Roch's, they had a thing against my dad because he was a Protestant and they didn't want him playing for them. So a couple of times they tried to pull him off the field and
Yes.
stab him.
Yeah.
So he said he couldn't put up with that. He needed to move on.
Yeah. And hence him joining the Arts, or
No.
Yeah.
So from there, he played for a team down in Ayrshire called Irving Meadow.
Yeah.
And while he was there, he was selected for trials for the Scotland international side at Celtic Park. He played, but he said, I only got the ball 3 times. He said, what are you going to do? Because obviously that's how they used to put an international team together.
Yeah.
So from there he moved on to Peters Hill FC, which was about 1.5 miles from the Garangad, and that's where Q.P.R.
Spotted him. Yeah.
So that was his move.
And then he signed for Q.P.R.
Yeah. But just before we move on to that, he played Scottish junior football for about 3 or 4 teams, and one team he played against in particular, he was playing centre forward, and the guy marking him, the centre half, big guy, every time I go back to the goal, got the ball played, this guy just come straight through and knocked him up in the air. And the 3rd time he did it, my dad turned around and they ended up having a scrap. They both got sent off.
Yeah.
But by the time they got to the changing rooms, they made up and became friends for life.
Right.
And that was Johnny Barr.
Johnny Barr. Right.
Who later signed the year. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So Johnny Barr is a name that probably doesn't mean much to QPR fans. He only had a handful of appearances.
Yeah.
Like so many players, his career was interrupted by the war. I think he signed from Third Lanark, didn't he?
Yeah.
The Glasgow team that's now long since defunct, with a wonderful stadium, Park, which I know some of you have been to. But Johnny Barr had a few games for Rangers before the war. He was then released during the war. He played for a couple of teams in Scotland, but then he came back to QPR as the scout for Scotland when Jack Taylor was the manager from 1952 to 1959. And then he joined Leeds United. And so Jack Taylor took Johnny Barr with him. And Johnny Barr then signed, those of you who like your 1970s football and 60s football, Billy Bremner, Eddie Gray, Frankie Gray, Ian Stewart, David Harvey, Gordon McQueen, Joe Jordan,
yeah.
and more. So he was an
yeah.
incredible scout. So it's a nice sort of what if type story if he'd been stayed with Rangers as a scout for Scotland.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of going to Leeds United, but he was an interesting character.
And also, I did a little bit of research because I know John's daughters.
Yes.
We used to go down and visit John. He lived in Bridge of Weir, which was sort of south of Ibrox Stadium. And when I did a search online, this thing came up about Alex Ferguson, Sir Alex Ferguson. When Alex Ferguson hung his boots up, he went on to manage St Mirren.
Yeah.
And he wanted to find out how you spotted talent.
Mm-hmm.
So he used to tag along with Johnny Barr and go to matches and pick his brains about what he saw in players that Alex Ferguson couldn't see.
Yeah.
And he ended up by saying, if I could have been born with one thing, it would have been the ability that Johnny Barr's got to spot a player. Not so much raw talent, but potential.
Yes. Yeah, amazing.
So
amazing.
You can't get a better accolade than that, can you really?
I'm slightly conscious of time, Alistair, because
Right,
I think there's going to be a lot of movement behind us in a moment. So let's go through, in brief, talk about your dad's war years, and then we'll go on to talk about his career after Rangers and you going to watch Rangers with him.
Yeah, okay. Well, obviously, the war interrupted a lot of the playing.
Yeah.
My dad joined the RAF, and he was stationed in Blackpool with Ivor Powell.
Yeah.
Also,
Welsh international.
Also, at the same time, Freddie Mills, world heavyweight champion boxer, who became friendly with them. But when they were off duty at the weekend, or if they had weekends off on leave, Ivor and my dad would play for Blackpool with Matthews and Mortensen. And they all became great friends. And when Ivor got married, Stan Matthews was Ivor's best man.
Nice.
So he turned out for Rangers when he could, but obviously travel was a problem. You know, I've got a letter somewhere
to be
about
back on duty and stuff.
Yeah. But with the club trying to arrange a pickup by some guy that they knew up north who had a transport company, and he's, right, so and so will pick you up on Saturday in their lorry and bring you down to the game for.
Brilliant.
So it was all that sort of stuff going on.
No, that's good. Let's go on to talk about his career after leaving Rangers and you going to Rangers with him.
Right, so my dad signed in 1950 for Leyton Orient. At the same time, Johnny Patterson, his teammate,
also I think Alex Stock was the manager at Orient.
Alex Stock was the manager at Orient, and my dad and Johnny went and played for Alec for a season or two. Then my dad by this time had a bad injury, cartilage operation that never really got any better.
Basic in that era, weren't
they wouldn't let them train for 6 months. No. Now they have you up straight away, don't they, after a cartilage operation. So he ended up leaving Orient and moving down to Gravesend. Played with Gravesend and Northfleet along with Jimmy Logie, Arsenal captain, Scotland
another Scotsman.
international. and that was it. He was there for a couple of years, packed up work, and then he had to find a proper job.
Yes.
And he ended up as a chippy's mate.
Right.
On building all the big power stations.
But he didn't move back to Scotland, I think he stayed here.
He stayed here.
Yeah.
Stayed here because while he was here,
Yeah.
he met my mum, who was a nurse at Roehampton.
Yes. My dad was in hospital at Roehampton.
Was he?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was a big military hospital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my mum was from the northeast.
Yeah.
So she moved down from Durham, and they, ended up getting married here, moving down. And
Yes.
that's why we never really went back.
So talk to us about your time watching Rangers with your dad.
Well, in the 70s, we started coming up. Home games, we did a few away games, but my dad just loved coming up and watching Stan Bowles.
Yeah.
And he used to say, for all the problems this guy's got, his off-field betting and womanising and the stick he used to get.
Yeah.
He said, I can't believe that he can play like that every week.
Yeah.
He said it's incredible. He just sort of blocks it out of his mind.
Yeah.
And gets
it's
on
great
with it.
that a player from another era appreciated
Well, he
Bowles.
always said I would have loved to have played in the same
Absolutely.
team as him.
Yeah.
He said it would have been easy.
Yes, exactly. And what was your dad's last game? I think it was
Right.
around 72?
It was 72 because I was
Yeah.
an apprentice at the mailbox company. I was a tool making apprentice.
Yes.
And the factory had its own team. And of course I got asked, can your dad come and run us? Will he? So my dad started coming along, picking the team and giving them a bit of encouragement and a few. And we had to play a game at the Isle of Grain. And this team was animals.
Right.
And we only had 10 men. And my dad said, well, I'm going to play. He was 58 at the time. I said, you can't play, Dad, because I was worried about him getting, upended and, breaking his leg or whatever.
Exactly.
And he said, no, I'm playing. So I said, well, you haven't even got any kit, Dad. So he had a shirt and shorts from the team. Yeah. He had a pair of ankle socks and a pair of desert boots on, you see. And he looked a picture. If I could, if I had a phone back then, I would have taken his picture.
Yes.
But my worries were sort of unfounded because, yourself, these professional players, they just make space for each other. They know the game, they know the easy way to play it. Yeah. And he never got into any trouble. He couldn't walk for the rest of the week, but when the ball was played to him, he just laid it off. He didn't have to do any running. You know what they're like. They can make you look fools, couldn't they, if you're playing against someone that doesn't know the score? Yeah. So that was that. He finished his career playing for the Metal Box Company.
Yeah. And what year did your dad die, Alistair?
1991.
Right. So when would it have been his last match at Loftus Road as a fan, roughly, would you imagine?
Oh, probably 80s, probably early 80s.
Yes. Did you go to the FA Cup final in 82?
Yeah, we went to the FA Cup final. We picked up tickets. I can't remember where Arthur Jefferson used to live, but
nearby.
He lived nearby,
very
didn't
close.
And he rang my dad
up.
up.
He was a teacher at Christopher Wren School.
Was he?
Yeah.
Anyway, he rang my dad up and said, I've got a couple of tickets if you want them. So, we came. We didn't go to the replay.
No.
We only went to the
first match.
Yeah, which was disappointing. But
there
you go. So close and yet so far.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was important that we got to that cup final because my dad had a bad car accident in '67, so he missed the League Cup final because he had concussion. Yeah. My mum wouldn't let him go. He wanted to go, but he died in '82 in the December. But at least he saw Rangers at Wembley twice in the May.
Right.
So
well, I can remember my first game watching Q.P.R. because we lived in Gillingham, in Gravesend. Gillingham wasn't very far, and it was probably been about '66 or '67. We went out to watch Q.P.R. Gillingham, and Alec Farmer, who was, I think he ended up as kit man.
That's right.
Ended up as kit man. He met us outside,
and
took
he would have
my
been
hand.
a playing mate of your dad's.
Yeah, he was a playing mate. Yeah. And he took me into the changing rooms, gave me all the shirts. Number 10, Marsh, and I can remember Mark Leatherus.
Yeah.
Only one of the Morgans, I think, was there. And then we went into the barn for some reason. I don't know whether this was already arranged, but Stan Mortensen was there.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
for whatever reason, I don't know why he was there, but I think he was manager of Blackpool at the time. So he straight away, my dad, you know, they're old pals.
Yeah.
And the other one was Joe Mercer. Now, my dad didn't know Joe Mercer, but we spent half time just Joe Mercer chatting to me for half an hour. You know, a bit,
And how old were you,
really,
how old
because
were you at the time?
I didn't even know.
No.
I'd have been 11.
Yeah, who's this old bloke?
Yeah, I thought he was a really nice guy, and he did take a lot of time to chat to us. But then I find out he's like Man City,
Exactly.
and
one-time England manager.
England manager, yeah.
Fantastic. Alistair, thank you so much.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
It happened just the other night as in my bed I slept. I dreamt about a football match where everybody went. The players tried so very hard, it really was a shame to see a whistle happy ref mess up the bloody game. Oh, 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 what a lovely game. What a lovely game. What a lovely game. Tell the referee if he don't know, we'll show him where his whistle ought to go. The game was only minutes old, our team was doing well. The centre forward had the ball, the fans began to yell. He beat the sturdy centre half, then placed it in the net. Again the ref, the whistle blew. Offside, no goal, no get. Oh, 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 what a lovely game. What a lovely game. What a lovely game. Tell the referee if he don't know, we'll show him where his whistle ought to go. Our players never try too far, they always play the game. The referees don't understand it, it's a dirty shame. Our goalie went to punch the ball, the player dropped like lead. Up came the ref, the whistle blew. You punch him in the head. Oh, 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 what a lovely game. What a lovely game. What a lovely game. Tell the referee if he don't know, we'll show him where his whistle ought to go. A penalty against our lads, our heroes one and all because the players' head looked like a blinking ball. Our boys went back to help, 11 goalies yet. They couldn't stop that bloody ball from going in the net. Oh, 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 what a lovely game. What a lovely game.